Yeah, why not?
You're in. Hello.
Someone left quite a derogatory comment on one of our streams the other day. Don't get them.
Oh.
Rarely get them. And it was on our link in the description for our archive. It was It was the one with Paul from Richard's Guitars, Mile House Studios, and it was a proper fanboying over him, saying how amazing he was, but that basically watching us was a little bit like watching a team's work call.
Oh,
I thought that was, in some ways, that's sort of a compliment, because I feel like people always said watching us was a bit like having a chat with people at the pub, and it's not like structured, it's just laid back, it's what we're thinking about and what we're interested in, and I kind of like that. We used to do those more planned topics and things, but there's something I quite like about just seeing it as it is at the moment and having not thought things through.
Yeah,
but that definitely does make it an unedited weird stream of consciousness.
weird. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, like work calls, I'm sure.
I don't know.
Anyway, I mean, I'm assuming that guy works at Fender, but there you go. Because it's like a guitar work call, but who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, look, we've got a number of people watching. So hello, everyone.
Hello there.
Just off air, Dave was telling us about a gig he went to recently and how it's inspired him on a search for a new kind of instrument that he hasn't really played or used before.
No,
and that's going to be our topic today.
Oh,
and while he's talking, I'm just going to go and I'm going to do some Googling, see if I can find some images we can share.
I tell you, if you look for the band Let Me In Presents,
right,
you will find them. Unfortunately, they didn't have, they don't have anything on Instagram which demonstrates the guitar that I was on about. But basically, went to a Pink Floyd tribute band at Worcester Cathedral on Friday night. And so halfway through, they played a track. And unfortunately, I don't know the name of this particular track, but it featured a nylon acoustic guitar. And I thought that the guy who was playing that was playing a Fender Acoustasonic, because it looked like that shape from the distance that I was looking at. But in actual fact, Fender Acoustasonics do not sound like nylon guitars. They sound like steel electric. So he must have been using something else. And I was sort of spent about half an hour just before we came on air to try and find out what sort of guitars it might be. And I came across there's a Tim Henson Ibanez signature, which is nice. I mean, it's got a Piazza sound to it when you listen to him playing. There's a Henry's Music guitar, which I'd never heard of before, a CK78, which again is similar to the Ibanez, but it's a much cheaper. It's actually a Telecaster. I think it was about $400 or something like that. The best one was is it a Godin multi-act nylon Encore guitar, and that really did sound authentic. But I was just interested to know. I mean, I'm building. I have built a nylon acoustic guitar, and I did wonder about actually fitting a Piazza when I was doing it. But to hear this live on Friday, sounding so authentically nylon, was quite impressive.
And are you sure? It just wasn't an electric guitar through some sort of amp modeler that was making it sound like that?
He swapped his guitars quite a few times, and he picked up this guitar, which it didn't have any pickups that you could see on it. So it was definitely one of these acoustic modeling guitars. There's no doubt about that. And,
right.
I mean, he'd been playing electrics all the night as well. But on this particular track, he played this guitar. And if anybody knows the Pink Floyd track that has an acoustic guitar playing a riff all the way through, please let me know, because it was a really nice song.
So does that mean you're not necessarily a Pink Floyd fan?
Oh, I am a Pink Floyd fan, but I just realised I don't have all the albums. I mean, Dark Side of the Moon, Shine On You, Crazy Diamond, and all of that stuff. I have to say that they performed a great gig in the sky, and the lady that did the solo was absolutely brilliant. And I mean, in the Worcester Cathedral, I mean, it just echoed around the chamber. It was absolutely fantastic. I think what I like about their music is it's quite simple and it's very melodic, and you can really get into it. There's nothing really complex about the music that they produce, but it's one of those things. It's got I suppose it's got quite a high emotional content in it, I suppose. But yeah, be interested to know what other people think.
Oh, I'm interested as well, Dave, because I have not had good experience with piezo nylon acoustics. I can't get them to sound good.
No.
I love playing them because I love playing nylons, and I have the Tim Henson right here.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Hold on.
Now, are you gonna do Playing for God for us?
Could you just hold that up again? Could you
What's
hold
that?
Up? Could you hold that up again? I was on another screen at that moment.
Sure.
It's a lovely looking guitar.
Can you show me the headstock a moment? That's the one he's playing. I'll share the screen in a minute. That's the one I've just found on Instagram.
Yeah.
Certain it's that of them at the gig, at another gig. Let me share. Press the right button. Always great. Here we go back to that unedited element of everything.
Right.
That one. This might be the right one. Here we go. Could this be the guitar?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay.
It doesn't have the same. It doesn't look like it has the same inlay, does it?
Ibanez makes it without. They have a several variety of colors and doesn't have the inlay. Yeah.
But that doesn't look like it says Ibanez on it. Maybe that
looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one. There you are. Well done. Gosh, the sleuthing works.
Nice job.
Yeah, I was telling these guys off air. I've been watching Murderers in the Building and another thing like that. What was the other one I was watching? Man on the Inside. Our Man on the Inside. Absolutely rubbish. But yeah, it's got me in my sleuthing head.
Got it in.
So sorry, Mark, you were saying that you've got one, but how do you find playing it? It doesn't quite work.
Playing it is wonderful, right? So I believe the way they made this guitar is the string spacing is a little bit more narrow than a real classical guitar, because if you're coming from a solid body electric world and you're playing this, you want to feel comfortable. So I like the traditional classicals. I play those almost exclusively. This one is a little bit narrower, so you can actually approach it the way you normally would, and it just feels comfortable. It's a great guitar. It's super light. It's very thin. It doesn't have a sound hole, so the sound hole's on the top facing the user.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a clever thing. So it's sort of great for practicing.
Yeah. So that means it doesn't project forward very well. So it sounds great to your ears when you're playing it, but I'm sure it sounds a little bit weird to whoever's in front of you. And then plugging it in, I could never get a good recording sound ever. It just feels so tiny, very piezo. It does have a preamp built in here with the EQ. I just could never get a good recording sound from it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm interested as well. Like, I heard the Godin on YouTube. I thought that sounded great. I don't know what Godin is doing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different preamp. Who knows? But those things sound really fantastic. But this one sounds okay.
Yeah. You always get with a piezo that sort of fizz, don't you? It's hard to describe it, but it's sort of top end fizz. I wonder whether perhaps the Godin actually has a mic inside. I mean, whether that's actually,
I think you're right. I was about to say, like, a mic would be fantastic on a nylon. If they could introduce some kind of microphone system, that would be the way to go, as opposed to piezo, or some kind of mixing system where you mix the piezo with the microphone.
That's exactly why I got up, because I've got a piezo system for my ukulele, but I can't find it. I've taken it out. I'm not sure where it is, but it has a mic built into the preamp that goes into the sound hole inside.
It was interesting. I was watching Mike Dawes. acoustic guitar player. He was setting up on stage, and he was, I mean, that is an acoustic guitar he's using, but I think he's got 4 different pickups in his guitar. So he's got a mic inside, he's got an electric pickup, he's got a piezo pickup, and he wires them. They're all separately wired into a mixer, so he can treat each one differently. It's quite amazing. If you ever see him, knows. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah,
yeah. That's what Neil suggested as well. The idea of a piezo and mic balance. Someone was saying in the chat that our volumes aren't balanced. I hope I balanced it out a bit better for us now.
yeah. Is that all right? Yeah.
And Barry said, was the song "Wish You Were Here" that you're thinking of?
No, it wasn't "Wish You Were Here." No, I mean, I know that one. That was again.
Come on, I know that one.
Yeah, that one. And what was quite good about that one, the saxophonist, a lady who also sung, she talks on Instagram about how she watched Pink Floyd in concert, and the sax player then used a bass sax and then a tenor sax. And so she was determined to do the same thing. So she starts off the solo with a bass sax, and then she swings it round her back and finishes it with a tenor. Very effective. So yeah, really good stuff.
I'm not sure if Neil will say. Oh, Mike, you're.
Sorry. I was going to say, Dave, are you pursuing this because you're at the point in your build where you're looking for some kind of like way to like mic it up or pick up or something?
It was just of interest because I'd never heard. I thought immediately it was an Acoustasonic, and I thought, oh, I've never heard one sort of live like that. And I thought, oh, actually, that's really impressive. Now I know it wasn't, but whatever it was, it sounded really good because you really could tell, even in a live environment, that it was an acoustic, nylon acoustic. And it's got that lovely soft tone that you get, with the nylon acoustic. But no, I don't think I'm going to be building any sort of electric nylon acoustics, because I think you can't really beat an acoustic.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of fun with the one that I've just sort of finished. It's interesting you said about the string spacing, because on that I've actually gone a little bit narrower than a normal classical guitar. It's interesting. If I swap between the two, I do get a little bit of string catch. You get your fingers caught. But yeah, I think I probably prefer it a little bit narrower than a normal classical guitar.
And what did you do about the radius on the fretboard?
Radius, I have it flat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, flat radius. Yeah, that's definitely on the classical guitars. But anyway, I mean, I just sort of switching to something. I've been watching you in your Les Paul 1971 guitar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
really nice.
I'm so happy.
Tell us about this, Mark, because I've been off the net for a while, off the internet. What's happened?
Yeah, I bought a 1971 Les Paul because I've been reading and watching a lot about the Norlin era of Gibson, which was the era from like 1969 to like 1985. And it's just like this perfect example of like, these corporate entity coming in and trying to streamline and optimize, cut corners and innovate. And by doing so, they did a lot of strange things with their instruments. And these instruments have a really horrible reputation and nobody wants them. Like nobody wants a Norlin era Gibson. And just to give you an example, like the top 3 things are like, they moved to maple necks, right? And you would never think of a Gibson with a maple neck, but by 76, like all the Gibson Les Pauls had maple necks, and they were 3-piece necks. And they also do the pancake body, so it was a sandwich. So they no longer were using like big solid blocks of mahogany. They're getting cheaper, thinner pieces of mahogany and sandwiching them together to make the thickness. And so like all these elements just sort of building up, and they make these instruments that are like really as far away from the golden era of the 50s as possible. And no one likes them, but they're still vintage. And you can get them for a steal like these days. And that's what I've been doing. I've been just like trying to find a nice 1970s era. This is like the early transition period. So by like 69 to like 72 was still transitional. So I have a 3-piece mahogany neck on mine, but it's a 3-piece mahogany neck. It's got a volute. So they started using volutes in the Norland era. So these are Gibson Les Pauls with volutes,
Right.
which they've abandoned, right? These days.
Oh yes, I was going to ask. Do you know how long? When did they start abandoning it and going back to more vintage stuff?
So after 86 or 85, when the Norland era ended, it was, I guess, under a new company owned it. They went back to 50s specs. So they removed the volute, went to single piece mahogany, started getting rid of the pancake bodies. And it's about that time when they went back to more traditional neck construction.
Right.
But they did re-release in like 2021, 2022, the deluxe, which is the 1970s spec with the volute. So you can still get a modern day Les Paul with the volute, but it would be like a 2021 version, and it's one of their like, reissues.
So spoiler alert: is this one of your new YouTube videos that I've got?
Yeah.
Right. So I don't want to ruin your video. We go and watch it, but have you got a 50s or an older spec that you've played to compare?
I have
not necessarily on the video, but in your
no. I don't own a 50 spec. Those like 50s Les Pauls are like $300,000. Right?
Yeah. I was about to say I haven't really been on the net, but I was on Instagram just before I came in, and I saw a clip of Joe Bonamassa picking up his $500,000 56 Les Paul and comparing it to his 2025 or 2024 model. But I had it without the sound on, so I don't know what the difference was.
No, so yeah, I saw that, and what's really interesting, I love listening to Joe Bonamassa talk. I've never heard a note of his music, but I love listening to talk about gear. And one of the things he mentioned that I didn't know was that he was talking about the pots, right? And in the 50s, Gibson used military spec pots. Remember that Gibson didn't make pots, right? Like this is CTS making pots, and they made them to go on like B-1 bombers, right? Right. That's what they were for. And so they're military specs, and he's saying there's a different audio taper on them. So the taper is completely different. You can go to like a CTS pot today, and he says the taper is completely off. And so you, with that taper, you get this like infinite amount of different tones basically just from your volume knob. And these days you don't. It's different because CTS doesn't make them the same way because there's no need. The only people who are buying pots are flipping Gibson and Fender. Like they're not making them for B-1 bombers anymore. It's like that's their two customers, Yeah. It's just crazy to hear stuff like that.
Right. I'm going to change topic right now, and we'll go back to this because this sort of links in. I wanted to bring it in when Dave was talking before. Pots. I'm going to talk about pots, right? And then I want to talk about the idea of you trying to get that perfect acoustic tone on your acoustic build. And that is, I've just finished some guitars, put them together, and I'm playing on them, and I don't like the sound of the pots. Like, I don't like the tones. So I'm going to have to take it out. I'm going to have to experiment with different pots and different capacitors until I get the right combo I want. But I just put in what I thought was going to be right based on what I've done before, based on similar things. But of course, I've got different pickups this time. And I bought a bunch of pots about a year and a half ago when I was building all these guitars for that book. And I think I bought them all from Stu Mac. I mean, I bought like 50 pots, loads of them. But I bought from other places as well. And I think these ones are Stu Mac ones. So they're not like the cheap ones or anything like that. But there's something about them. I've got no effect. It's basically like no tone change, and then just at the end there's a change. And it's super disappointing.
Oh, right.
And what I want to know is what happens when you do that. Do you all just go, oh shit, and start again? Rip it all out, start again. How do you test?
That's a good point. That one is. I mean, you haven't got the right values, have you?
Well, the thing is, who knows what the right values are? Like when I'm using a new pickup, it's going to be a slightly different whine to the other pickups. It's going to have a slightly different output. These are quite high output pickups. Right. I've got the Jerry Hayes wiring book, which has got wiring diagrams for so many different guitars, and I'm just basing this on a standard Les Paul setup because it's basically 2 humbuckers, 2 volume, 2 tone, 3-way switch, and just doesn't sound right. But luckily I can very easily access, unlike when I'm doing a Strat, for example, I can very easily access all the controls without having to take all the wires off. So I'm just going to have 2 long wires coming out and just into a breadboard and try different pots, I think, until I get the right one. Different pots, different capacitors. I think that's what I've got to do.
So in terms of a volume pot, what would you use? A 500K or 250? I mean, they're the sorts of I would use.
So I'm going to say this now, but I'm quite tired, so I probably got it around the wrong way. I think I've got audio in my audio taper pots in my volumes and linear in my tones.
Right.
And I think I've got 250, and I think these are all 500.
So so logarithmic and linear.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So I mean, sometimes this just sounds, it's the same I always use. Sometimes it sounds great, but it's just come out wrong. So it's so disappointing. And it's like that. I mean, it's more complicated potentially if you put a piezo pickup in and you're not getting the output you want. Yeah. And do you go and change your piezo, or do you go and try something different? Because normally, right, the wiring up is the last stage, and you hope you're going to plug it all in. It's going to be brilliant. I mean, I always say to people, wire everything up, dry fit everything, wire it all up before you do all your staining and finishing. I never do that, because what I like to do is all the staining and finishing, and I want to get on with that. I don't want to do the wiring, so I always leave it to the end. So this does happen occasionally, which is why I've got loads of spares to try things out, but it's just very annoying.
That's strange. Yeah, no.
Is the unknown variable in this specific scenario the pickup itself?
Yeah, 100% new pickups. But then saying that, is that true? I don't make the same model very often, more than once. I don't use the same pickups more than once. But for these, I'm working on something I want to make multiples of, so I want to get it right.
Right.
And I've got 2 guitars with the same pickups in, but everything's wired up the same in them, and they both have the same problem. Both sound like disappointing. But it's not the pickups. The pickups are fine. It's just the tone's not working. So I've got to get that balance right.
Yeah.
What I normally find, what I've been doing a lot of recently, is putting that variable treble bleed in for the volumes, and that way I can really control how the volume turns down. And I'm quite happy with that. I know we've discussed that before. Not everyone likes that. But that works for me. So I'm not worried about the volume control. That's fine. It's just getting the tone right.
It's got to be your ground then, because like the way the capacitor works is it bleeds the treble to ground. And if you're not seeing that variation, then there's got to be something in how it's bleeding it to ground, correct?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, maybe I misspelled it. It works. It's just not the right. It's not the right setup.
It's like, not the right sound for you.
Not the right values. I've got to get the right values.
I gotcha. All right.
And the annoying thing is, it's not so bad for this setup because it's quite easy for me just to, like I said, run 2 wires out and do it changing. But the annoying thing is getting there, thinking it's done now, plugging it in, drumming, and then it's like, oh, actually, that's not right. And what I'm interested in is, maybe that's never happened to you, but if things like that happen, do you do the change? Do you ever make a guitar and think, these aren't the right pickups, and I'm going to change the pickups?
I tell you, I just don't bother with the tone. I don't like tone in a guitar. I'd rather have it crisp. I would just roll the volume off a bit, but then that's the treble bleed. But
I mean, as Neil said, and this is true with the treble bleed as well, everything is totally dependent on what you're playing it through. Yes. So, the change in volume when I'm playing through my tiny practice amp in here compared to playing through a big cab is going to be noticeably different. And I actually practice. I play mine. I've got 3 amps in here now, so I always try everything on 3 things. But then again, that's not going to be the perfect thing. Who knows where it's going to go in the end? But I know I used to play in a band with a sound engineer here, and when he did all his mixing, on his desk he had multiple speaker sets. so he could always then flick between different speaker sets and different types to see what his final mixes sounded like on 4 or 5 totally different setups.
Yes.
Which I always thought was a sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I try and do with my guitars.
I think I had a couple of pickups that I didn't like the sound of in some of my builds. And I just kind of accepted it. Like, okay, this pickup just doesn't work for this guitar, but I'm not going to like swap it out. I just like left it in and it sold it. Obviously it works. It's flawlessly it works the way it should. I just didn't feel like some pickups just don't. My ear is different than everybody else's ear, right? So if I think, oh, this pickup doesn't work, it's just me. It doesn't necessarily mean it's someone else.
Subjective. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'd never swap them out if I think sounds bad. I just leave them in and sell it.
I've got a mysterious problem that's happened on one of my guitars, which is it used to sound brilliant, and now the tones aren't working on it at all. So something slipped inside and it must have shorted it out. So I've just got to, it's a strap. So it's really annoying because I've got to loosen all the strings, pull it all out. But I'm going to get to it. But I don't know how that happened. But I think something has just simply come loose and shorted somewhere inside.
Yeah, that's interesting. Something I just took out an old build of mine recently, and I plugged it in, and so I pushed the guitar cable in, and I was getting like a weird short sound, and I think the cable's going in too far and it's touching something and shorting out. Because if I pull it out just a little bit, everything's fine. I can wiggle. Yeah, so like now I got to go into there and got to figure out what's it touching, what's touching what, and it's true that I do make really tiny control cavities. Like I like as small as possible. So there's a bunch of stuff in there, wires and whatever. But it's a drag because I got to go in there and go fix it.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because that's those one-string guitars that's from about a couple of weeks ago with Toby. The new iterations of them have got bigger cavities on the inside because all it is the pickup to the output jack. That's it. But on the first few we did, there's just no space. And one of them, when you put the jack in, it was shorting out or getting twisted in there. So that was it. So I've just made slightly bigger cavities where I can tuck the wire away. It's fine. And on my very first builds, just because I didn't know what I was doing, I used to insulate the cavity on the inside. I used to insulate right around the jack, but that would often mean that something could move a bit and it somehow shorted
with the insulation. Yeah. Have any of you guys use the insulation paint?
Yeah, I love it.
Do you? Now, I perhaps I bought cheap stuff, but he just kept rubbing off on me. Yes.
I definitely recommend putting all your wiring in. This is a pain. Put your wiring in, then take it out, and then insulate it when you know it all fits.
Really?
That's a good thing. But also, this is a bit crazy because it sounds counterintuitive. But I saw Texas Toast talking once about the fact they paint everything and then they varnish. They put their clear coat on the top.
Oh, well, that would make sense.
Why would you insulate with the clear coat at the top? But actually, it doesn't really make any difference. And the reason it doesn't make any difference is you've still got that material that's insulating everything. The only difference it makes is it's not making physical contact with your
you have to make contact with the earth.
But the way you do that, which is what I do on all my instruments anyway, is you just have an extra wire that has a little lug on it that you screw into the cavity. I always do it anyway, and that screws through the clear into the
stuff.
I think this is a subject, shielding, that needs to be like looked into scientifically and maybe debunked a little bit.
Okay. Oh well, okay. I'm going to counter you there. One of my top YouTube videos is me looking to it very unscientifically. And it starts with me saying, "Look, this isn't scientific," and I repeat that multiple times, and I still have so many comments complaining about the fact it's not scientific. But what I do is I took a strap body with no insulation in it and just one wire going across, one string going across, and with the 3 pickups, and just demonstrated cheap pickups as well, the horrible hum that was there. And then what happened if I put some shielding in just where the control cavity was. And then what happened when I put some shielding in around the pickups and the control cavity. And then what happened when I linked the shielding from the pickups cavity to the main cavity. And every time the hum went down until it wasn't noticeable.
Okay.
And that was with really cheap setups and not doing much testing, just simply doing that there. And it made a massive difference. So my answer is always, it doesn't matter how good it is, it definitely makes a difference.
Okay, well then explain this. All right. My 1971 Les Paul has no shielding whatsoever in the control cavity. My 1965 Silvertone has no shielding in it whatsoever. Like older guitars didn't shield anything, and yet
Better
there's no
quality.
hum.
Better quality components. That's
Can I
one.
just ask
Okay.
Humbuckers. That's
Yeah.
two. Have
Yeah.
you got shielded wire as well?
Yeah, shielded wire. That's
Shielded
what-
wire, there's shielded wire for sure,
You
yes.
don't need shielding if you've got shielded wire.
Yeah, see, that's what I do. I use shielded wire all the way.
That's what I'm talking about. I think that a lot of what we do because the last guy did it. And he did it because the last guy did it, right? We need a proper like debunking of like, hey, this is what you can get away with. This is the bare minimum. And then here's where you can go. You can go super crazy if you wanted to, and everything in between. But I don't think, I just feel like someone needs to look into it. Not me, someone.
Yeah. Well, this Faraday cage business. People just bloody ram on about Faraday cages and the science of it all. And it's like, I appreciate a cage. A Faraday cage is a cage with holes in it. That comes up a lot as well. It doesn't have to be a solid shell around it all. But the way people are talking about how you have to cover everything, your strings are outside that cavity and they're part of the system, right?
Yeah, well, they're earthed, obviously. I mean, they actually
Yeah,
sort of
but
form part of the cage.
As soon as you say things have to be earthed, people are like, no, it has to be inside the cage. Has to be inside the cage. But that means you then have to shield around bloody.
Well, I mean, if you take a fender, for example, you don't put shielding under the plastic guard, do you? Pick guard. I mean, you just do you?
You should do. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'd never do that sort of thing. No.
Well, Dave.
well, I mean, I certainly wouldn't use the paint because it gets everywhere. But
I wouldn't use paint. I wouldn't use paint under the pick guard bit. Oh God! And the amount of people, because I also demonstrate in one of my videos how you put the tape on, and how if you don't buy the expensive tape, because everyone says, but is your adhesive conductive, or are you using non-conductive adhesive on your tape? Because as soon as you put tape on top of tape and it's not conductive, then you're breaking the circuit. So, again, it's a very simple way to make sure that there's a connection all the way through. But do you know, I definitely feel like if you've got a hum, normally improving the shielding can help.
Right.
So it's not a problem to just do a bit of that.
No, well, I think
paint's brilliant. Personally.
Shielded wire, I think, is the answer. If I'm honest with you, just that's what I do, and it seems to work okay. Especially where I've got like the hollow body guitars, where I'm feeding the whole lot through little holes and trying to wire it all up. Yeah. I can't really, unless I thought about it at the beginning and painted the whole of the inside or covered it all. I can't really get in there afterwards. So it's it's just a question of doing it. But yeah. I mean, I think that the single coil pickups are the biggest problem, aren't they? I mean, you just no matter what you do, you can't seem to sort.
Yeah, but again, some of them are much better than others. Some of my cheap ones are terrible, and some of my cheap ones are okay. But I've said this. We sort of said this before when we were talking about the bridge. We were talking about the tremolo systems where you can use the tremolo system, everything changes in tune with each other, and how that doesn't sound like you expect a Strat sound. You do expect a bit of hum. That's part of the sound sometimes, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, I don't mean like hum, but I mean there's something that if you have a truly silent single coil,
then the magic's gone.
When you're not playing, when you stop playing, and you don't get like when I see a live band. I was thinking Nirvana with this, and stop and you get lots of feedback and stuff. It's a nice thing. I had some Yngwie Malmsteen single coils in, and they're what are they called? They're mounted on top of it, stacked. Yeah,
So
So it
they're
works
effectively a humbucker, but they're just
on
flat.
top of
Yeah,
each other.
I
So they
understand.
should be more efficient than a humbucker because they're right on top of each other.
Yeah.
And they were great, but I don't know if I don't know. I don't have a real preference for tone and sounds so much.
No.
Just as long as I've got a great output signal and the balance, that's fine by me.
Well, when I put together the Telecaster made out of sort of rubbish, and you kindly supplied me with those two pickups, and one was a Strat middle pickup and one was a Strat neck pickup, and I used the middle pickup basically on the bridge. Actually, when I played the two together, when I put them both together, they act as a humbucker because they're well, and so that kills the hum. If I go to either, or the neck or the bridge, I get the hum. So it sort of gets the best of both worlds in that way. But yeah.
Hey, we've got a couple of new people in the chat, so welcome. I don't know how you found us. Actually, let us know in the chat how you found us. We kind of do this every Monday at this same time. So for the UK, where Dave and myself are, that's 10 p.m. And when Mark is, it's 4 p.m. Is that right?
4:37 p.m.
Or 4:37 now, yeah. And sometimes you have people on from Australia, and depending what part of Australia it is 7 a.m. the following day, Tuesday morning. But that's probably all going to change soon when clocks change. I think the annoying thing is everyone's clocks in different countries change at different times, and they go in different directions. So we get further apart from Australia. So we try and do it every week. And really what we're doing at the moment is it's just an informal chat about stuff. And it can be, we don't really know what we're going to talk about until it happens. But we've got an archive listed below in the comment section. And that's got 86, I think, episodes, which were more organized when we used to invite a guest on each week and talk for about an hour and a half with that guest around a topic. And that might have been a guitar builder, a pedal builder, an amp builder, a pickup builder, a musician, someone that sells different types of wood, someone that builds acoustic, someone builds electric, and all variations. And then it was a little bit more a kind of interview with them about themselves, how they got into it and things like that. But sometimes we would have very specific topics. But we tend not to do that so much anymore. I was thinking earlier, maybe that's something we should go back to every now and then, but it is such an effort to organise, and we've all got other things we want to focus on. So for me, as I always say, I don't get to talk to people about guitars apart from this bit once a week. So if no one watches and it's just me and the other people on, that works for me.
No, that's great. Yeah. No.
Although slightly changing the topic, but talking about guitars. I was at Guitar Show last weekend, and there's been a few of the WhatsApp groups I'm on, people talking about Guitar Show since. And again, this idea that I appreciate Mark always says they don't have guitar shows like this in America, but in the UK, there's loads of them and they're all over the place. But in the UK, it's quite easy to get around for the builders to get around to all of them. Some of the shows you drive to in the morning, some of them you stay overnight. It's all quite but same people seem to go to them, and more the boutique builders are pulling out of them and not going to the shows anymore. And it's partly because, this is one of the discussions today, it's partly because when you go to the shows, the boutique builders are sort of spread around and lost, so they don't have the impact they have when they're at a group. The Woking Guitar Show, for example, that I was at last week, what was noticeable is, I can't remember how many builders were there, 15 or 20, all boutique builders, all had instruments that were really unique, either really unique designs, like not things you'd see from other factories, or a few people made your kind of Strats and Telly sort of shapes, but in just stunningly different finishes than you could ever get elsewhere. And there was definitely, for me anyway, an impact of seeing these en masse. And also, because so many of the builders are into building and making things, this was a show that didn't supply tables. Normally you supply a table, you bring a tablecloth along and stand it on, but they didn't supply tables. So people just built things to show their guitars off on. Right. So the whole displays were just so interesting going around. So one of the discussions was trying to approach some of these bigger shows about having a section just for the boutique builders to have their own kind of identity, so people know here is the big shops that you're going to, here are the big brands, and here is the more bespoke thing where you're going to go and approach someone and ask them about making a guitar for you for 2,000 or 3,000 or more pounds. So you know what you're getting and you know what you're looking at, and when they're all together, it sort of makes more sense. Because when you're spread around and someone looks at your guitar and they look at the shop next to you, which is selling a lot of times the shops at these shows as well are selling off things that's in sales or B stock. So they're selling something for a couple of £100 and yours is 10 times more expensive. It does sometimes throw people.
Yeah. It would be a good
North Carolina's were rainy day. I can't read the rest of his name on here. Is based at. But found it randomly. Yeah, I've noticed there's been a few people in the chat recently we've been pushed onto their feed because they've been watching guitar building stuff. So that's great.
That's awesome. Oh, and I will be going to a guitar show here in Texas in May. It's a couple months away, but it's the Dallas International Guitar Festival. And it's mostly, from what I understand, dealers dealing in like vintage instruments, but it's massive. Like they're from all over the country. Like dealers from all over the country come into Dallas. And the show starts like 10 a.m. and ends at 6 p.m. And then there's the concerts in the evening. And so they have such a great lineup this year. So Eric Johnson's going to be playing. Red Volkart, he's from Texas. He's going to be playing. So like just great Texas musicians are going to be playing every night. So I'm definitely going. In fact, I was looking at tickets just a while ago. They're really cheap. I'm going to get a hotel room. I'm going to spend 2 days there because it's a 3-day event. And I'm going to go see the shows. I'm going to eat some barbecue. And I might even buy a vintage guitar from there.
I was going to say, when you said vintage guitar, I thought, yeah, I know what.
Yeah.
Cool.
So like I watched one YouTube video. Someone did a really good job of kind of going around. But one of the things why I was never interested in is because one of these things is like they'll show you like a 1966 Jazzmaster in the original case, and it's like $40,000. You go next door, it's like a vintage Jaguar from 1962 original case, $38,000. And so when you see those prices, it kind of like puts you off, right? Like, who's this show for? Yeah. But then in the video, you see that most of these dealers are just trading with each other. Like no one's got cash. They're just like, I'll trade you this, whatever for that, whatever. And that's how they get their stock and inventory. They're making massive trades with each other. And you can, of course, make sales. And then they actually recommend, if you're going to go visit, bring your guitar in and see if you could trade it or sell it there too. So you have actual visitors come in with their gear, trading pedals, trading gear, whatever they got for whatever they see. And so my mindset is I'm going to go in and I'm going to look for a vintage Gibson or a vintage Fender. I'm going to try to stay away from all the pointy 80s guitars because I know that I will want one, and just kind of focus on like Gibsons, because those are the ones that appreciate in value. Like you want to get a Gibson or a Fender and they'll appreciate. Simple as that.
That's interesting you say, because I had a friend who bought guitars just for the appreciation of the value of them. And I don't know. It's sort of, yeah, it's like buying wine, I suppose, or something like that. But yeah.
Well, I mean, you're buying it. I would obviously play them. Like I get that Les Paul right here. And I love them, and I like to look at them and hold them. But ultimately, they go into the closet, and I never see them again.
But are you suggesting you're keeping them there in case you fall on hard times and then have to sell them?
No, I'd be buried with them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I cannot remember the name of the YouTube channel, but I've seen it a few times, and it's a guy who basically drives halfway across America a lot of the time with his van to meet someone who's selling off the collection of guitars that someone they know has just passed away. And he just either buys it in bulk and takes it back and then works his way through it, or he'll go through some of them in a car park, look at them and buy some there and then bring them home. Again, for the resale purpose. But it feels like the people that bought it, maybe they didn't buy it for saving and resale purpose, but it's now in the hands of someone that doesn't have that connection to them anymore.
No.
So it's going to this guy who's going to sell it on to people that want them, I guess. But I always find that fascinating, like those storage room shows where someone breaks into a locker and you find something in there that might be valuable or might not be valuable.
Yeah, I think I was listening to Joe Bonamassa talk about something very similar. He just like a lot of these, he buys most of his guitars from like families, right? Like not dealers, but mostly like we found a family that's got this, 1950, whatever, Les Paul. And the idea is that a lot of these families, it belonged to someone who passed away, and they don't want to be the custodian of this very, very rare, expensive instrument, right? They don't want to like, what do they know about it? Nothing, right? And so it makes sense to send it to someone who cherishes those things, who has a museum. He basically, Bonamaska's got a museum in his house, right? Who will like not only just play it and use it, but like, cherish it forever. So I see the logic in that, like why someone would let it go, because they just can't be the custodian of it if they don't know anything about guitars, right? It's tough, it's hard. And it could just easily go to crap too, like if you don't take care of it, it could actually harm the instrument if you're not really taking care of it. Or if you have it in your attic in a musty old, like humid attic, you could really harm the instrument if you don't know what you're doing. So it makes sense to me. But the other thing that Joe Bonamassa said is he's a weird collector in that he collects all original, the guitar's got to be all original, down to even the original strings. That's how weird he is.
Okay.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, he wants it to be all original frets, original pickups, original wiring, everything original, no fret jobs, no breaks. And the top of the line is if it's got the original strings, that's like his grail.
Right. Gosh.
So here's a sort of connected story. I work at a gallery called the Tate Gallery, and they have a few galleries. But a number of years ago, there was an exhibition there of Henry Moore, who's a very influential, important British sculptor, and it had some of his small sculptures in it. And one of the people I work with said to me, said as an aside, don't tell anyone, but that sculpture there's mine. And it's a small sculpture. She said it belonged to my grandmother. She bought it off Henry Moore when he was a young artist, and we used to play with it as kids. Just used to rock it backwards and forwards. It's I remember it being in a rocking chair. I don't remember if it was a rocking chair shape, but whatever it was, we used to literally handle it and play with it as kids. But now we can't afford the insurance on it. It's too expensive an object for us to insure, to look after. So the government has a scheme to they rent, I guess it is, artworks off of people who can't afford it, and their aim is then to take it around the country showing it in art galleries. So they will insure it, etc., as long as you can guarantee that they can have access to it for a certain amount of time a year or a certain amount of years to exhibit it, which I thought was brilliant. And it seems like you're talking about this with the Joe Bonamassa idea of these people that have these cars that they can't really you look after or use or properly be the custodian of, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, slightly on the other side of this is the thing that I've enjoyed doing is restoring old guitars. Not necessarily. I mean, I'm not restoring it exactly as it was, but actually taking an old damaged guitar, an old acoustic guitar that a friend had in their garage. The headstock was broken, the thing was full of dust, but you clean it all up and make all the repairs that you need to do, and you have an absolutely wonderful instrument. One of the ones was a parlor guitar. It was a wonderful instrument. I mean, the marquetry that was around the edge was beautiful, and I just think, I think in some ways it's better than building from scratch, because you're building a quality instrument. You're restoring something back to the quality it was when it first was built. So, so that's my that's that's my sort of goal.
I'm with you, Dave. That is way more satisfying to me and joyful than building a guitar from scratch. I love repairing and restoring old guitars like that. I love it.
I think I've told you I used to hate tellies, really hated tellies, and then I had a couple come in to restore, and I got to play them, And one of the main things is one of the ones belonged to the person that gave it to me. It belonged to his dad, and his dad played in a band many years ago. His dad's now quite elderly, and he wanted it restored to be like it was originally, because lots of things have happened to it over the years, like rubbish paint jobs and rerouted for different things. And kind of working with that and talking to him about it added something to the instrument that made me like it a lot more.
Yeah.
So changed my look on them. So there's definitely something about that restoring it that makes a connection to the past that I love.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk about connections to the past. Look at this segue. We're like professionals. I'm going to go to a question from right at the start of today's episode.
Yeah.
To end up on. Barry asked, and we didn't have a chance to mention it. Do you know why there's wider string spacing on a nylon strung classical guitar?
I guess it's the style of playing, but I mean, Mark, you play more than I do.
I don't know the why at all, but on a side note, I just recently watched a YouTube video about a guitar restorer who basically exclusively restores vintage classical guitars from very, very famous, well-known Spanish luthiers. And I don't know the why to this question, but one of the cool things that he was saying is that a lot of these guys, they didn't have like templates, right? They would like measure the body, take dimensions, right? And then that was their measurement. They when you build a classical guitar, you build it, I can't remember, is it from the bottom up, from the top down? I can't remember, but in some way, what you've taken and what you've drawn is the dimension of the guitar, and it always varies. So you're never getting the same size, by the millimeter ever, because they're just doing it by hand, basically.
Yeah.
And so when I think about the string spacing, I'm thinking about almost like the same thing. They probably didn't have a template, and they were just going up dimensions, and that just maybe got wider and wider.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, from a personal thing, when I'm playing guitar with a sort of finger picking in that sort of classical style, not that I'm very good at that, but having the wider gap makes it a lot easier. In fact, I've got electric guitars where I've actually made them wider because I've got quite fat fingers, so it makes it easier for me to play. But
For sure.
yeah, be interesting to look that one up.
That seems to make sense.
AI.
Let's let the sleuth look it up.
Yeah, let the sleuth.
Well, I don't just sit here giving answers. I prefer our speculative guesses. But talking about AI, I saw a picture earlier. I didn't save it. Someone asking AI the best way to wire up their 5-position super switch for their Strat, and they put up 3 different schematics that the AI had come up with. They were incredible. It named pickups wrong. Like it had bridge pickup, neck pickup, and some random word for the next pickup. And one of them was connected to a battery. One of them just had this switch, which was like a box, or a circuit diagram of a box with loads of connectors on it, with nothing like connected to it. But or at least all of them had an output jack. But
Right.
most of them didn't have any earthing anywhere, and quite often on 2 of the diagrams just had 2 of the pickups connected to each other and nothing else. Brilliant. So we can
sort it out.
Yeah, exactly. Now there is. Now there is.
Oh.
Maybe this is a good place to say goodbye. Unless Mark, were you about to put your hand up with a?
No,
you look like you were about to say.
No.
Here's how
No.
Oh, well.
No, it's been a good chat. Thank you very much, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like the fact that we have covered a range of things that are all connected to stuff we're doing or interested in, which is how I think this should be.
Excellent.
Yeah, on that note, thank you everyone that's watching now, and anyone that's watching in the future, say hi in the comments, and see you all next Monday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers.